if you think about it, I believe champions are actually just messengers, and it sucks. They become the in-between of you, the seller, and their 7 to 11 stakeholders, which is the average these days. They're passing information back and forth. And if you can imagine sending them a long email, which is all hyperlinked, lots of attachments and all these details and bullet points, they forward that to their colleagues. Their colleagues get that email and just think, oh, I'll look at that later. Whereas if it's short and snappy, look, they put this together for us. Instantly, these guys have gone the extra mile. And that's something like Trumpet on a quantitative side, we accelerate sales cycles, we close deals, increase conversion rates and all those kinds of pieces. But the qualitative side that we keep hearing is our customers, prospects, buyers, and partners are reaching out to them proactively and saying, thank you so much for putting that together. You made my journey really easy. You also went above and beyond the competition. And that really showed us that, you wanted to earn our business.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Rory Sadler, who is the co-founder of Trumpet. So, Rory, welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this because I use Trumpet. I'm a fan. But I think it's probably best if you explain what it is, because I don't want to offend you in my interpretation of what it is and how I use it. And then we can talk about the millions of uses for what we do.
More than happy to. The quick elevator pitch. So with Trumpet, we help to centralize buyer journeys and accelerate sales cycles with pods. Pods are microsites. They can be spun up in seconds. They are interactive. They are collaborative and automatically personalized spaces that you share with your buyers from outreach right through to onboarding. And they include everything from mutual action plans, demo recordings, calendar booking links, timelines, proposals, and much more. So all in one nice looking space.
Yeah, and they do look nice. How many times have you delivered that pitch?
That one, maybe a couple of times. We're always switching it up. You've got to split test that messaging.
No, like that one. Like that one. So pods, microsites, what else might people call these? Because that might not ring a bell, and that's why I wanted to hear your words first, because I might call it something a little bit different, but I'd probably say I do call them digital sales rooms. I hate that expression. Digital proposal, dynamic proposal, that's a little bit one-dimensional in what I'm using it for, perhaps. What are the terms or things have you heard them called?
Yeah, I think digital sales room is very sales facing. Like you wouldn't say to a buyer, I'm going to send you a digital sales room. It just sounds like admin or like a task. But yes, the Trumpet is used for that and does that very well. Workspaces, hubs, portals, landing pages, digital rooms, digital hubs, like all sorts of different names. But I think that's what we quite like is Trumpet is a very versatile tool, and it gels and flexes to each business and their needs. Like we work in both B2B and even B2C across the full cycle, across different teams, CS, sales, marketing, account management. So, we're not sort of bucketing people and saying, this is how you use Trumpet. We're giving them that inspiration and showing them the different use cases and letting them take it and adapt it to their unique kind of business.
Yeah. You've actually just helped me realize why I probably don't like that term digital sales room. Yes, it does sound salesy, but yeah, it's almost like you're corralling somebody into a showroom, and I'm going to lock the door until you looked all the cars.
Yeah.
Let me present it, all the features and what features to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just really cool places to hold info that's useful for somebody at a particular time. I mean, that's kind of what we boil it down to. And so, yeah, maybe I'm a bit too one. I'm working on this, but yeah, because it has been a proposal type page for me in the past. Though I'm starting to now think about this buyer's journey, or at different phases along that route, they're going to need to know different stuff. and I could overload them. One could overload them with the wrong information or too much, kill the kindness almost. Whereas just a little bit, ideal, needed that, and then they can move on. Is that a better way to be looking at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if we zoom out, being a buyer actually sucks. Most people aren't taught how to buy software, and it's a really long process. They've got their day job and they're procuring software to solve a problem of theirs, and they maybe don't do it that often. There's lots of risk involved. Do they make the right decision? Because there's lots of different players. They can make a lot of research, achieve and find a lot of research online. They have to navigate internal stakeholders. They have to do, ROI analysis, compare competitors. There's all sorts that goes on. So if you can make that journey as seamless as possible, it's only going to benefit both of you. And you'll have probably heard of the term sense-making sales, which I think is, making a real rise at the moment, which is great to see, because it's all around the concept of making it easy for your buyers to buy, which is buyer enablement. But you're basically helping your buyer make sense of all of that information, because information overload leads to indecision. So giving them the right information in the right format at the right time, and microsites can help that.
Yeah. So I think I wrote a post this morning about making sense, helping people make sense. That's what a good modern salesperson does. I bunch it in under collaborative selling, but it's just labels. It's what we're actually doing at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So your main market then is software. That's the kind of guys you would tend to help.
I'd say it's where Trumpet offers the most value. Like, the more complex the sale or the journey, Trumpet helps to simplify it. But that doesn't mean it can't be used for, short sales cycles, SMB, or agencies or consultancies, anything like that. We are seeing it used for those because of how adaptable the product is.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, we need to properly keep in touch. I'm using it to sell training. Okay, so yeah, agency if you like, but I don't train anybody in tech or SaaS. People I'm working with, B2B complex, but more, should we say, industrial? So people are selling trucks, people are selling widgets, people are selling flavors, people are selling produce. They can very much use it. Depending how spiky I'm being, I'll say that actually that's probably a more complex sale than people selling SaaS. But it depends. We're not being spiky today. We're being good.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Because when you started saying earlier the number of things that you can integrate into it, that I can integrate into as a customer, because you put it there for me to do that. It really, you just adapt it for what you need to do at that time, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a million brilliant tools, whether it's in sales enablement or video recording, all of these things that are intended to help move deals and conversations forward. But if you're following up with a prospect or potential client, long email, lots of attachments, links, sending them left, right, and center, and it's just a bit messy. So that's what the concept of a microsite can do, is centralize all of that. But it's interesting you say about the sort of difference between, let's just say, SaaS and tech, and then maybe manufacturing world, for example. Like, my first sales call of today was with a chair manufacturing company who have very large clients, and they want to follow up with them in a very personalized way that's quite standout. It's not just another proposal. So I think everyone is waking up to the fact that you need to break through the noise, stand out from the crowd, and do things a little bit different, and go the extra mile to win business, especially in this current climate.
Certainly we can use some of the elements in there to break through the noise. And again, that more, if I call it traditional market, I'll tend to deal with. As soon as you're starting to send people video, as soon as you're starting to have something that's a little bit more dynamic, that it's doing something in front of you, that's already pretty cool. And I think in tech world, they're kind of like, well, yeah, we expect that sort of thing now. It's what we sell. We know that. So yeah, you can get quite a gain from that early doors, which is why the video, I know when we talked before, you said, Fred, you need to get voice note or video in there. I was like, yeah, I did, but I failed recording it. Something like that. but things like that, because having that personalized it shows that you really care about that person, because you're talking to them straight away, top of the page almost. What I loved then was the amount of stuff that you can put in. So like the mutual action plan bit, when I found that, and this is a bit sad, probably shouldn't have done this on a podcast. I was like, whoa, how cool's that? Because I bang on and on and on about these, by showing somebody the way forward, that's the incredible amount of value for them. A lot of people don't really know how to put it together. They know the steps, kind of, but giving them that format to put it and encouraging them to put it into this site, which when that's needed, I thought that was an awesome piece.
Yeah, it's actually the most popular widget. That's what we call them, the kind of blocks that you build the pods with in Trumpet. And rightly so, because mutual action plans not only help create accountability, which is proven to progress conversations, but it also creates visibility. What is coming next? What is needed to move forward? I think actually one big mistake people make is just creating mutual action plans for the buyer. You need to do all these things, but actually also showing that you're doing things alongside that as well helps. Oh, there goes some van outside. Also helps to create
mutual action plan fan.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, if you're also creating the steps and saying, look, I've already done these and I've got some coming up, it makes them it gives confidence in them. It gives them confidence that you're also working hard to push things forward. And that increases collaboration as well. It's not just you saying to them, here's a load of admin.
Yeah. So these, again, we go back to the sort of semantics, terminology. These used to be called close plans, didn't they? Come to my digital sales.
Yeah.
come to my digital sales route to see my close plan. Who's this for?
Yeah.
Mutual success plans are like, if I don't use this term, then Kevin Dixon and Tom Williams will chase after me. Outcome enablement plan, which I love, because if we're doing the human bit right, and we need to talk about this, this stuff isn't to replace humans, it's integrated to augment them. We are talking about people's outcomes, we're showing them how we're going to get them. It doesn't just stop at our close. We can talk about what they need to be doing after. Really, look, this is what you need to do to get your results. That's powerful. That's a powerful widget, that is, you know?
Yeah. I think when we use our own tools, you can imagine, to collaborate with our clients, and I never call the mutual action plan a mutual action plan when I'm sending it to them. It's always next steps, just something simple. But I think, that aside, inherently in sales, there's an assumption that the deal stops at, invoice or proposal sent and then signature. And I think it's as much, especially in this climate, as much a salesperson's responsibility to create the visibility of what is coming next. Like, yes, pricing, invoice, that's all going to happen. That's why we're having this conversation. But I want to show you how easy it is for us to get started, to onboard you, for you to become a customer. And I think that's the real benefit of these.
And so it can become a tool to communicate internally as well then. Because if we're going to pass over to customer success or account management or anybody that's got to help the customer get what we promised, just looking at the site, the pod of what's gone on before is, like I say, just go read the proposal. It's just something that's going to help them. And they can then start to create their own to keep the whole thing going. Because the way I see this, and this is this piece about integrating the human, it's not just you create a bunch of these and people have to kind of navigate their way through, like, and I'm probably going to show my age here now, these books we used to have, where you read a page and then you decide this or this, and then it's turn to page whatever or turn to page whatever, and it's you could set up a series of sites like that, couldn't you? Because you can link them. Am I correct? Yeah. But we don't necessarily want to do that, because we want to keep injecting the human to be thinking, right, how did that go? Is that making sense for you? Which bit do I need to produce for you next? Now, they might be already produced, and we're keeping that conversation going. So, makes a lot of sense. So, do the people who are using these really effectively now, do they kind of have a bunch of sites ready-made and then talk to customers and then direct them to the right sites? You might have site A, B, C, D, E, and I talk to you and you go, right, actually you're quite far down the process, aren't you? Yeah, customers are. Right, you go to site C. Someone else might be, we're only just thinking this. let me give you site A, which is more about concepts and stuff like that. Is that how people are using this?
Yeah, I think companies that use Trumpet most effectively have a good understanding of their buyer journey, and they've mapped that out already. And the way Trumpet works is you build templates. You take a template, you say that you're sending it to, X bank, you put in the URL, who you're sending it to, it's all branded. But when you build out a template, a pod or a template, they've got the concept of pages. Each page typically is a step in the buyer journey. Summary of our call. What does onboarding look like? Here's the proposal. Here's our, info and security documentation, and here's some case studies. But you can hide parts of those pages. So, for example, onboarding. They're not ready yet to be, told about onboarding because they haven't even signed anything yet. So you've got that in the template. It's ready, but it's hidden. So once they get to that part of the journey, you just reveal that page. So the pod becomes, it's a live space. It evolves as a conversation evolves. All for the buyer, it's still one link. So yeah, seamless.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we like assumptive, but we don't really like presumptive. So you might want to keep some stuff back, but it's ready to rock and roll. And then it's very, very fast, isn't it? Because we'll have the conversation. This could be a sales call. And you can say, right, Fred, I'll get something to you. Capturing the stuff that we've said, maybe even part of the video. If you're videoing the meeting, you can include that back into the pod as well.
Yeah.
Fire it back to me. Oh, that's really personal.
Yeah.
It's good to see you talking to me, but seeing me talking to myself, that's probably even. I'd hope I could convince myself to do something.
Yeah. No, we had it yesterday. I was speaking to a client, and I'd sent him an example pod on LinkedIn. I was like, what are your thoughts? We'd obviously love to work with you. He's like, yeah, this looks interesting. Let's jump on the call. And he's like, out of interest, like you must have spent like hours putting that together. And I was like, no, let me show you how quick it took. Like it was in literally 30 seconds. And he's like, oh, okay, this is game changing. He's like, I instantly assumed it was going to take time to create that. And that's something that salespeople don't have. It's lots of time. And that's what we're alleviating. I think, really honest, the concept of microsites have been around for years, but they've always just been a one-off use case. You're working on a really big opportunity, a big enterprise client, whatever it might be. So you're going to invest that time to go and build something super bespoke. But there's an argument that roughly 60 to 80% of every buyer journey is very similar, but you're tweaking the, let's say 20 to 40% on top. The kind of unique value prop, how you can specifically help them. And it's removing that admin whilst creating a much better buyer experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's people who, some people love getting excited about stuff they hear without really hearing it, don't they? And they will hear buyer journey and they probably want to wade in on it and go, buyers don't have journeys. No. So you can't possibly plot it. Whereas what we would say, well, 68% we can. We know typically what people are going to go through. I mean, we can't nudge them A, B, C, D, E. They might go off on a slightly different route. Fine, we can respond to that. That 40%, that 20%, we'll go with them. We're cool. But sometimes we need to guide them anyway. And this is where this really, really comes into its own.
Yeah, absolutely. You also mentioned like putting in videos and things like that. And going back to that sense making, one thing I really encourage everyone to do is the concept of micro demos, like, sharing an hour-long demo recording. No one watches it, let's be frank, but just taking out, putting in that extra time to pull out the highlights, the quick summary, and the kind of key parts where you can offer the most impact to that business. That lands a lot better. And it also gives them confidence that you're really investing into this relationship, going the extra mile. And I think, what we're trying to help facilitate is removing the wider admin so you can spend more time doing the things that matter and that stand out.
Yeah. I love that. Wider admin, do the things that matters that stand out. Yeah. I'm now just trying to think of the widgets. So we've got video in there. That's really cool. Mutual action plan. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things which people are using? And again, sets this stuff apart from here's my PDF proposal, 1 million pages long, because I've put everything that we've ever written about our company in it. What are the other little bits which kind of people just go, oh, that's cool, that works, that's bringing it to life for me?
Yeah. So it is very much voice notes, mutual action plans, timelines, progress status, ROI calculators, dynamic pricing, where a buyer can interact with it, FAQs, document uploading, and there's a lot more coming. I think what we want to facilitate is, I think we've been in a world where part of the sales process is sharing content, because marketing do an incredible job at creating beautiful case studies and insights and reports. And they're always going to be needed because they help the buyer get confidence in what you're doing, and they validate your offering. But for a buyer, they haven't got time to read all of this content. What we want to facilitate is an interactive buyer journey. So from start to finish, can they help navigate and have a say in what the outcome is? The outcome being proposal, but also onboarding and what actually becoming a customer looks like, that journey. So can they click, comment, slide, and do things? That's super powerful, because then you get buyer behavior data, and then you can start to understand what is the intent here. Are they actually, serious about moving forward, rather than are they just opening a PDF and reading, our case study with so and so. So that's very much the route we're going down, and a lot of the widgets we have today offer that interactive element, but we have lots more in the pipeline, as you can imagine.
Yeah. If they beat mutual action plans, get it sent over to me early doors. But no, I mean the whole concept of sense making, it is something that's very close to my heart, in that's what modern selling should be doing.
Yeah.
If you're not, I mean, I'd say you have to question, what are you doing? What are you trying to achieve here? No one's going to want to talk to you.
Yeah.
When you help people get their head around something, that's when you become valuable to them. That you won't get ghosted. People will want to talk to you. So a lot of that are the skills that you will use in the conversation and your deep understanding of them and their world.
Yeah.
But then when you turbocharge that by firing the stuff back over to them they were talking about, and here's a little bit extra for you to be thinking on, they'll be back for more, won't they? So this is great. Every time I talk to you, you're helping me think about stuff differently, then sending me stuff that I can use and share. Yeah, is the other big thing, isn't it? That's why we like these, because I've spoken to you, you sent me it, but actually I'm going to show 4 or 5 other people this.
Yeah.
It moves stuff on faster, doesn't it? And I think this is one of the points that you make about how you're reducing cycle times, and that's why people get excited about stuff. But actually just kind of doing what's right. I'd say yes, sorry, I haven't expressing it badly. Yeah, you're reducing cycle times, but you're actually making them happen, because if you don't do this, you're not going to be having any time at all, because you're just not interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing, by shortening cycles, making it easy for your buyers to buy, we are also increasing conversion rates. But I think, that aside, if you buyer enablement is just focusing on that buyer journey. And if you think about it, I believe champions are actually just messengers, and it sucks. They become the in-between of you, the seller, and their 7 to 11 stakeholders, which is the average these days. They're passing information back and forth. And if you can imagine sending them a long email, which is all hyperlinked, lots of attachments and all these details and bullet points, they forward that to their colleagues. Their colleagues get that email and just think, oh, I'll look at that later. Whereas if it's short and snappy, look, they put this together for us. Instantly, these guys have gone the extra mile. And that's something like Trumpet on a quantitative side, we accelerate sales cycles, we close deals, increase conversion rates, and all those kinds of pieces. But the qualitative side that we keep hearing is our customers, prospects, buyers, and partners are reaching out to them proactively and saying, thank you so much for putting that together. You made my journey really easy. You also went above and beyond the competition. And that really showed us that, you wanted to earn our business. You can't really put a value on that. Like, I've worked in SaaS sales for over 6 years, and not once has any of my customers reached out to me afterwards and said, thanks so much for that sales process, Rory. It was like seamless. I really enjoyed it. Maybe it's because I'm not great at selling, who knows? But,
love that.
But so to hear buyers actually giving that feedback without being asked, there's something special there. And I think, that's for us is something we're really going to double down on, is the buyer experience. We kind of want them to be, as soon as they open a pod, it's like, wow, what is this? Like, yes, this made my life so much easier. So yeah, that kind of delight is key.
What a time to have this. So I'm just thinking about buyer experience a lot at the moment, because if it hasn't already, it's about to get even worse than it was before, isn't it? People are going to use clever stuff to do clever things that people are going to absolutely hate because
Yeah,
they're taking people out the equation. But some folk think this is a really clever use of time and effort, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. Like, spray and pray is too easy these days. You had 100 emails to sequence, hit send, no personalization. And then AI is both incredible, but also can be used in the wrong way. It's a topic we could definitely talk about all day long. But, I think as a buyer, you want to feel special in that journey and looked after and cared for and thought about. Whereas if you feel like I'm being put through something that's AI generated and like hyper automated, you're losing that connection. And I think the change in buyer behavior is driven partly from the ease of, let's take e-commerce. You go to a certain website, click purchase, and it arrives the next day. And people want that in B2B. Obviously, it can't happen because there's lots of risk and consideration, competitors to analyze, and everything we mentioned before. But it is no surprise that buyers are only spending 5% of their journey with each vendor. They haven't got time anymore to be on several hour-long demos and speaking to lots of different people. Before they book that call, they know what you do. So they've checked your website, they've done their research, and it's your job to do your research and make sure that time together is as valuable as possible. But also the journey moving forward, you're making it easy for them because time is more precious than ever, and it is more competitive than ever out there. And this current economic climate, speaks for itself.
That 5% have you derived that from the stat where it's 15% talking salespeople and they're probably talking to 3, so divide it by 3? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
17%. Yeah. But they speak to 4, and one of them, they get on the call and they go no, and then they quickly jump off. So it's like, 3.5.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm good with the 5, but it's right at the end, isn't it? Clever use. Well, it's just clever selling, actually. Sense-making selling, collaborative selling, whatever you want to call it. You get involved far earlier. This is where you're getting in, you're capturing somebody's attention, you're giving that little snippet of information, not trying to say, look, here's all the catalogs we've published ever. A little snippet to just open their mind to something, think, oh, maybe we should look at that. It's just seeding, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was interesting. Actually, could you send me a little bit more? Oh, yes. Oh, pod B. Yeah. Bit more. Actually, I want to jump on a call. This is all stuff before they're officially starting to talk to salespeople in the
absolutely.
It's
the education piece. Yeah. Good outreach. No one books a call email number 1. Email number 1 is creating awareness. Even email 2, 3, 4, you'd be lucky to book a call. It's adding value at each stage, a bit of education, a bit of inspiration, and also creating a bit of FOMO, showing that they could be missing out here. So a lot easier said than done, but it's too easy to copy what everyone else is doing.
It is, but we'll come back to it. And look, it is a drum that I keep banging, and I think we're on the same page. And it's our episode, isn't it? So we can say what we want. No, but it's bringing that human into the equation and helping them to do that stuff better, and using the tech to augment that, not necessarily replace it. Oh, amazing! You've really given me something to think about with that. Being a champion isn't really a champion job. That what you made me think. I'm a bit old school. I thought about, you used to go to a meeting. It's like, who's taking the minutes? Nobody ever volunteered for that, did it? It's just a hassle. Put your hand up, and you don't really put your hand up to be a champion, but ending up in that role, like you say, running backwards and forwards, trying to persuade a bunch of people who've all got different stuff on their agenda. That's hard. So again, helping them do that. Oh, you've given me quite a lot today. Give me some homework.
I mean, that's why the concept of multi-threading is so relevant right now, because you're not just trying to go above your champion's head and say, you're not the CFO, you don't have the budget, like just introduce me to them. What you're trying, like what a good salesperson is actually trying to communicate is, look, it's going to be a long journey. Could be 1 month, could be 3, could be 6, depends on the product. And I don't want to hassle you for the things that you then have to go and find out. So, let's kind of work together and understand who's going to be involved. Let's just say, for example, legal. You don't want to be doing legal, but I do it all the time to help other clients. And I know that comes up because you're a certain size business. There's, things that have to be checked. I can get that stuff ready for you now. Just let me know who to speak to, and I'll take that off your plate. That's also part of sense making, is not only helping them make sense of the information, but sense of the journey, and procuring software, procuring services, anything. involves other people, and you're not the champion isn't expected to know all of that, and have all the answers to hand. So I think just being frank, to be honest, communicating that early, and just why it's for their benefit, not that you're trying to go above their head. And I think the other side to it that we're just sort of mentioning, about them becoming, I guess, creating that visibility, is I think being proactive with inviting the elephants into the room, which I'm a big advocate for. So pricing competitors, rather than just say to them, oh no, we don't have competitors, we're the best, yada, yada, yada. Before they even ask about pricing, tell them. In our discovery calls, like we kind of do a discovery and a bit of a demo all in one. And before I start the demo, I say, by the way, this is our pricing. So whilst you look through the tool, not waiting to the very end of the call. Like, you've got to understand that you can start to decide as you see the tool unfold if it's value for you. But the same with competitors. Rather than them having to go away and research, do the research for them and say, your boss is going to ask you to look at other providers or solutions. I can help with that. I've done it for you. Here's who I would be looking at, and here's how they're better or different. But from what you've said, this is where we piece in and kind of have a better fit.
And so this is being transparent. It's being grown up. It's understanding that is what they are going to do. Let's not pretend that you're not. I don't really want you to, but that's not really the point. You are going to. It's what I'd do if I was buying.
Yeah.
Let's just say, take the ball by the horns and say, right, there you go, there's stuff. I've tried not to be biased. If you think I have, tell me, because then I need to change this stuff myself. It makes a load of sense. I could talk about this stuff all day. Oh, I know. We'll have to probably set another one up. But in the meantime, hopefully people are listening to this and thinking, this does sound pretty cool. Very cool. Where can they get in touch with you, or where can they find Trumpet? Best way to have a look at this.
The first thing they do is not Google Trumpet, because every Trumpet instruments will just come out, and they head to sendtrumpet.com for our website, but they can actually just go and create an account, trumpet.app. We make a fair bit of noise on LinkedIn as well, so they're more than welcome to reach out to me. Always happy to connect with people, understand their the challenges they're facing, and how they want to optimize their buyer journeys. This podcast shows love speaking about it.
Well, me too. So we'll pop a link to Send Trumpet. Yeah, I fallen into that trap. And pop a link to you on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile on there. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hopefully we will get to speak again, because I know this is only going to get bigger and bigger. And there'll be more stuff. There'll be more people who want to hear about it. So if I can help get the word out, and I'm using this self, I'm encouraging people to use it as well. So the more education we've got around it, the better, I'd say. So Rory, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate the support, and very much look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the collaborative selling scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.